habits helping your brain or slowly working against it?
I think it all depends upon what you're doing because there you could do certain things to help your brain, like cognitive, and then for slowly working against it, we're bombarded by all kinds of harmful chemicals in our home, which can aid with depleting our brain's ability to work the way it was meant to work. And then also drugs and food, you know, um, we have a lot of work to do when it comes to our brain and paying attention to things that we're focusing on mentally and also the things that we are putting on and in our body because those things have a direct effect on the brain.
Thank you. And Terry?
So our daily habits helping our brain or slowly working against it is the question. So I resort to my four pillars of health to answer this question. So I'm looking at number one, nourishment. Are we nourishing our bodies with proper hydration, eating real whole food, and supplementing wisely? Or are we just putting anything into our bodies, which is going to have perhaps a more negative effect on the brain? Secondly, would be how are we at moving our bodies every day? Research is showing that the more we move, the better blood flow we get into our bodies, into our brain. So, one of the best things that we can do is to have some type of practice of movement every day, 30 minutes cardio, and I like to shoot for 3 times of strength training per week. Very good for the brain. Then the third pillar, restoration. How are you doing at your sleep? Sleep is critical to brain health. If you're shorting yourself of less than 6 hours of sleep at night, you're not doing yourself any favors. So making sure to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night is essential. And then how are we doing with our stress management? Are we incorporating some deep breathing into our days, some joy into our days just to relieve that stress? And then the fourth pillar would be connection. How are we doing at connecting with ourselves, with nature, with other people, our life purpose, our higher power? All those can be very helpful to take a look at and incorporating habits around those four pillars to really support good cognitive brain health.
Mhm.
And Maricel?
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. I think that when we think about daily habits helping our brain health, Terry already covered the most fundamental pillars that we should all pay attention to, equally important, all of them. And I would say, on top of that, I would also mention the hygiene of the mindset. And what I mean with that is that sometimes we don't pay attention to our mindset and we fall in our default mode of our moods, of our negative self talk or negative thinking. And without even knowing, we sabotage ourselves. And that's the reason why we don't actually implement the things in those pillars fundamentally to support the health of our brains. So I would say, don't neglect the hygiene of your mindset because, yes, it's invisible, but it impacts everything we do. So I would say, do some kind of mindfulness or any activity that will help you connect with any sensation in your body. And that's going to help you take control over your mindset, Stop paying attention to the voices that are not serving you anymore and start activating the ones that you need.
So I think that so many people have so much stress, and stress has been proven to be a killer. And what I find is when we have great relations with ourselves, with the people around us, we are going to have better cognitive health. It's absolutely been proven at this point that loneliness, for example, kills. So what I also have experienced with having a neurological disorder is that you have to have a very careful standard operating procedure. And what I mean by that is you have to notice if something is different. And you have to have a level of self observation. And you don't have to have a neurological disorder in order to do this. You can just start paying attention, right? To how you feel after eating something. So I know that I go out every dawn and I eat flowers and see the dawn. That has been a habit of mine. Now, one if one day for whatever reason I'm not able to do it, not a problem. All right? This is not about setting up things so rigidly that you can't change things. You can't go on vacation for a little bit, but your overall health happens over a long period of time. So little habits compound, and it can compound positively or it can compound negatively. So when you sit down to eat slowly. I believe in creating food quickly, but I believe in eating slowly. And part of the eating shouldn't necessarily be in front of the video screen or whatever. It could be with other people. So that kind of interaction while you eat has also been proven to make a big difference. What if one simple change this week could improve your memory, focus, and brain health?
I think the relationships that we have are very important, and they can have either a positive impact on us or a negative impact on us. And a lot of times, what happens is that if it's a negative interaction, we tend to keep replaying that over and over again in our heads. And that's not a good thing to do. We need to replace it with something that's positive so that we don't stay in that negative mindset, because negativity can lead to stress, which Cindy just got done talking about. And stress is a very, very healthy place to be. And stress is actually can be very dangerous. So I think paying attention to the relationships that you have and even getting rid of some of the relationships that are unhealthy. I've got two brothers I haven't talked to in years just because the conversations are too negative. And I just don't want that in my life. I don't need it in my life. I don't need somebody putting stuff into my head that is not going to help me to grow or help me to flourish the way I was created to do. So that's my take on it.
Okay, so to improve the memory and focus, one of the biggest things I'd like to share with you is to move the body. They are finding that people who keep moving live the longest, right? So moving the body is critical. Dr. David Perlmutter always says, and he's a neurologist, he wrote a book called The Grain Brain and many others. And one of the things in his book is that buy yourself a pair of really good sneakers and put them by the door and use them every single day for like 30 minutes. And if you can't do 30 minutes in one crack, do 10, 10, and 10 or 15 and 15. But move it. And guess what? I recently had a conversation with my great aunt who's 103. I said, "Hey, what's your secret to longevity?" She says, "You gotta keep moving." And I'm like, bingo! Confirmation right there. So, and her mind is still sharp as a whip. So I am believing the research and my aunt.
Thank you, Terry. That is exactly what I was gonna say from another perspective. I'm doing a few genetic interpretation lately, and I see there's one SNP that is the COMT, and it's the enzyme that breaks down dopamine. So through genetic testing, you can learn if you have the version of that enzyme that is acting fast, regular, or slow. And what I see with people who have, like me, including myself, I have the version that really, goes really fast. So every time I have dopamine, boom, 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 like a Pac-Man, it gets destroyed very fast. So for people like me with a calm that is slow, that is fast, we need to support the produce of dopamine. And the best way to do it naturally is through exercise. So I'm thinking, even if you have a slow comp, even if you have for everybody, the best way to produce naturally dopamine and support the neurotransmitters in our brain so that we can sustain happiness, right, is exercise. That would be one thing. And then the other way that is also related to the type of exercise, because this is the one that you can produce dopamine just by walking fast. That's it. That's all you need. But there's another thing that you can do, and it's only happening when we do resistant training. And that is a molecule. It's also happening in our brain. It's like a fertilizer where neurons can grow and have plasticity and better connections. And that fertilizer is only produced when we do resistant training. So, elastic bands or lifting weight. So, a combination of both actually are amazing to support the health of our brain.
Fantastic. I am really excited to share with you something that's made a really big difference in my brain life. And that's actually a mushroom called um, lion's mane. And what I would like to say, lion's mane is grown on trees, and it's actually grown quite a number of places. So it's much more available. You can eat it in salads. You can eat it raw, but you can also get powder and add it into water. Or I just like to put it onto some other vegetables. Or you can just get some fresh. And if you don't use it, make sure it's in a brown paper bag and it does basically dry out and you can just rehydrate it. So I don't want you to be afraid of using mushrooms in your life, and many of them are for longevity and everything else. So I really appreciate you all giving your understanding and your help. So do come to our focus on the cognitive and brain health masterclass that's coming up on June 16th through the 18th.